What's up, guys? It's your boy, your favorite man in black, the Badwolf. So we're going to be talking about the birth certificate and the Cestui trust. Okay. So before we get started, I want to thank everybody for supporting me over all the years. Finally, I'm starting to make some videos for the other YouTube channel, which is my backup channel, known as the Badwolf Media Channel. So look that up on YouTube, add me on there, and that one's going to have a little bit of everything. You guys are going to see me behind the scenes. You're going to see just how crazy I really am, and some of my friends, and just various odds and ends that I'm just going to put on there to share a little bit about my life. We're going to be talking about everything from nutrition to, health, to crazy stories, things I've been through, things I've seen, whatever else. So join me over there. Otherwise, as always, guys, you can catch more information on blacksite32.com. That will have more files being uploaded soon. And if you see anybody using any of my information, don't forget to report them, because we don't play that around here. And with that being said, yeah, come on, get a little closer. Don't be shy. All right, so let's get going. Once again, thank you for supporting. Appreciate each and every one of you guys. And let's take a look at the birth certificate. So the birth certificate is a trust instrument, okay? Originally designed for children of the, at the time, freed black slaves after the 14th Amendment. Okay, so the Cestui V Trust, which is what it's called, is an account you inherited due to the bankruptcy of the United States in 1933, and subsequently the seizing of all the gold and silver. They wanted to get us off of we had debts to pay. I wonder to who, and also they wanted to get us off of lawful money. Okay, so this account contains billions of dollars that are out there in all of our name. Now, it's not my trust. It's not that trust. It's a shared trust. Okay, we are the grantors and the beneficiaries of the Cestui V Trust for the United States of America. Okay, and they are the trustees who access it. Now, we all know, according to this one particular judge, that we can do all the things that they can do, and we are supposed to be able to have access to it. But let's just be real. Once again, this is all education, entertainment, information. I do it this so many times on consultations. People always ask me, how do I access the trust? Well, technically, you always access the trust when you're discharging, okay? It's the purchasing that everybody wants to do. But let's just be real. I'm going to pose as the American government. It feels dirty. Or I should say the U.S. corporation. Even though they're in bed together, but we'll leave it alone for now. So, as the government, can you imagine if everybody knew their dirty little secrets, all of them? Okay. And what would happen if the guy at the gas station suddenly figured out how to access his trust? Now, there are people who do. I'm not saying I do, so don't email me and don't bother. And if I did, I wouldn't tell you in the first place, because that is considered a security risk that they do not want out there, because it will cause what I'm about to tell you to happen. If the average person, everybody knew about the trust and could access it, everybody could buy and discharge, what is it, like $1 million or something like that a year, okay? Okay, according to this, it's about $630,000. That's just based off of the bond that is the birth certificate, not even accessing the full trust. I don't even want to know how much money we probably could have access to. I use the term money loosely. But if you did, the person at the gas station is not going to want to show up to work. Hell, they gave us just a couple grand during the C-19, and people are still losing their minds, not wanting to work, working for like 2 weeks, getting a paycheck, and just No, that would cause a collapse of the financial system. And as the GOV would say, we cannot have that. We cannot afford to pay that price. So they're going to guard those things. So no, they don't mind us talking about some of these little remedies and living outside that. But the big thing is they don't want people to know about that. and how to access it. Like I said, I don't. If I did, I wouldn't be making videos. I would be out living somewhere on some islands, like some people I know. So that being said, let's continue to take a look. All right. But Wolf, what about if the gas station guy doesn't show up? Do you think the guy who's bringing the gas there is going to show up to work? No. Which means the people at the processing plants ain't going to be there because they would be millionaires. They ain't going to work either. Who's going to really work if you know you have access to all of this? Now you have to understand something. When they set these things up, it's not actually your money they're setting it up for. It's the straw man, your public transmitting utility. Okay, so if you're sitting here yelling at them saying that you're not that entity, but then you want the entity's funds, yeah, you see? It sounds good when you go, I want it, but then when everybody else stands up and says, I want it too, guess what? Well, their table collapses, but then all of us, that affects us too. So for those people out there who have done it successfully, awesome. But to the rest of the 99.9999999 East 99 is where you find me slinging a yayo, baby. It ain't gonna happen. The system can't support it. But will we get there one day? Yes, we will, because that's where they also want us to be. It is in a place where they control all the money. We sit back and do basically whatever you want. The AIs and the hybrids and the living crystals, that's where all those things will be taking over, and we'll have cushy lives. Till then, we don't have service robots, AIs, droids, and all that stuff, but it's coming. Mark my words. All right, so the only problem is that the government and the legal system fail to inform you about it and how to access your money. In the meantime, they are drawing down on it for their own personal use. All right. So to cover the debt in 1933 and all future debts, the corporate government, the U.S., okay, different than the United States of America, determined that the established value of future labor for each individual in its jurisdiction is $630,000. A bond of $630,000 is set on the birth certificate. Okay, these certificates are bundled together. Some say the certificate of live birth, but that's issued from the hospital. So I differ from that information. I believe it's based on the birth certificate. Okay, these certificates are then purchased by the Federal Reserve and other foreign banks. The purchaser is the holder of the title, holder in due course. Okay, this process is made for every person. Remember, there's a difference between a person. Person can mean 5, 7, 10 different things. Which person are they talking about? When referring to us, the living, natural person. Okay? Just like if you now look up the term citizen of the United States, it encompasses a national, a corporate person, a DC person, a public transmitting utility, all those in one lump sum. Well done, guys. Well done. My hat goes off to you guys. All right. So the certificates are bundled together in sets and then placed as securities on the open market. These securities or certificates are then purchased. Okay, as I said. All right. So each person is then a surety for the debt, meaning a responsible party. That's why they want to keep you in there, so you can keep feeding it with tickets and speeding tickets and court cases. All right? And that you are a bond servant. A claim of right and notice of intent provides remedy for overcoming the presumptions that you are a fictitious, lifeless corporate entity, public transmitting utility, and surety for the debt. Okay? So if you're not claiming your right, that you are living with your notice of intent. Okay? So for example, an example of a claim of right and notice of intent would be something written as such. I am a living spirit and child of God. These laws subrogate all of men's codes, regulations, laws, and statutes. I live in truth and abundance and peace in my ways. I am ineligible for the benefits of man's system. I do not understand the complexities and deceptions of man's law. I do not understand or give consent to the corporate government and its greed, as God's creation is unlimited, abundant, and giving. His path is righteousness, peace, and loving. His spirit inspires and guides me to do no harm and avoid fraud in all contracts. Now, that's a sample. Obviously, we call ours the Affidavit of Truth, Affidavit of Life, Ecclesiastical Claim, whatever, but something along those lines. Okay? So, the government-issued birth certificates is now a registered security by evidence of the Committee on Uniform Securities Identification Procedures, or the QSIP. Okay? Number, which initially has an estimated value of $1 million. Okay? They are circulated around the world as collateral for loans and entered on the asset sides of ledgers, the asset side of the ledger, just as many other securities are done. That is why they are initially filed with the New York Securities Exchange Commission. Now, a lot of people will find additional education by watching the particular video that I have listed as How Much Are You Worth? It's one of the top videos, or else the one where we talk about the GMEI utility. You can find out more information there as education. All right. The central banks now have a negotiable instrument against with credit is advanced by the international funding community. As education, they're claiming the World Bank, IMF, etc., etc. Okay? Though not widely known, all these corporate banks and institutions, despite their names, are privately owned. Okay? Your account set up with your birth certificate is supposed to be allegedly on file at 55 Water Street, New York City. The name on the account is the capitalized letter and the name on the birth certificate. And the account number is your social security number. Educational information only. Do your own research. Do not hound people, but look it up for yourself. Entertainment purposes only. Okay. In 1921, the Federal Maternity Act created the birth registration. To register means to abandon. Okay? So what we know as the birth certificate is known as the Maternity Act and was sold to American people as a law, okay, which would reduce maternity and infant mortality with this information. So basically you became federal children, okay, children of the federal state. Before this, the information was recorded in Bibles or privately, okay? So now they want you to record, or register to abandon these things. The state tells you that registering your child's birth through the birth certificate serves proof that he or she was born in the United States, but thereby making them a U.S. citizen. Okay. So for the past several years, the Social Security number has been mandated by the federal government to be issued at birth. It's a tracking number. Accesses your Cestui trust. Okay? After receiving all this information, the birth certificate and other particulars that's accompanied by the Social Security number, the state claims an interest in every child within its jurisdiction, meaning on paper, the corporation. The state will, if it deems necessary, nullify your parental pair of renters' rights and appoint a guardian trustee over your children. Also their terminology, the child. The subject of every birth certificate is a child. The child is a valuable asset. If properly trained, will contribute to the state, okay, the corporation. Each of us, including our children, are considered assets of the bankrupt United States corporation. So we are considered human resources. All right. That's why on the birth certificate, the informer is the mother. Okay. Provides that the requested information, including the name in all capitalized letters, and she requests a Social Security number or tracking number, which accesses the Cestui trust. Okay. So the fact is that that act, okay, is invalid because it assumes powers not granted to Congress and usurps the local police power. McCulloch versus Maryland 4, Wheat 316-405. United States versus Cruikshank 92 U.S. 542 549-551. Okay, so there's a lot of acts in here that say what they basically did is invalid because of how they're using it. Okay, so the Maternity Act was eventually repealed, but parts of it have been found in other legislative acts. What this act attempted to do was to set up a government by appointment run by bureaucrats with redelegated authority to tax, which itself is unconstitutional unless you declare that you really are a U.S. citizen by your choice to have yourself be taxed. What was once declared unconstitutional by the Supreme Court of this nation in the past should be upheld in a court challenge today. The Constitution has not changed. What has changed is the way the government views human life. Okay, so now we're going to talk about finding the fraud with the use of the CUSIP numbers, which remember, it's not necessarily fraud if you know about it and you agree to it. It's just good business, okay? If you find out about it and you don't like it and you feel that you were deceived, that's when it becomes fraud because they might be taking away your constitutional powers and freedoms, and that's fraud if you didn't know that's what was going on. So once again, we already talked about the videos on the Treasury Direct and how to look up the information. Now remember, do not call and harass these people because the people that you can reach don't know anything about this. And so they're never going to tell you. So from their perspective, they're telling the truth. The people above them, they do know about it, and you're never going to get them on the phone to corroborate or respond to it. So don't bother, okay? They're going to tell you you've been watching too much YouTube education. All right. So a lot of people will say that all contracts are fraud. They're not. What it is the fact that it's just good business. Remember, you came to them. Okay, your parents came to them and brought you in. Your parents were the ones who committed fraud because they didn't know what they were doing. They passed it on to you, and then you did it to your kids. Right? Okay. So, the information provides that all birth certificates and financial instruments created through commercial uses, which we can construe as fraud after the fact, because we know now, without proper disclosure. All court cases are based on underlying bonds, the bid bond, payment bond, and the performance bond. Okay? So the court promises its judicial duty for economic and commercial, which considered fraud, can be considered treason in some cases, to foreign creditors in violation of the Constitution for the United States of America. So basically saying, here, you guys can put money in on this, and they're not telling us or cutting us in on that share. So all Social Security cards bear a CUSIP number that identifies your bond. So once again, we talked about how to look up this and also court cases by the CUSIP numbers on them by using the Treasury Direct, TDA Ameritrade, and I think the other one's quantumonline.com. Okay? The United States Incorporation, which is then forced upon Aboriginal and nationals of the Republic, okay, through threat, duress, economic sanctions, and contractual fraud. All illegal to be done against us as nationals and Aboriginals, okay? So you may not be indigenous, but in fact you are Native Americans. So yes, you are a slave to the 13th Amendment, okay, and the 14th, I believe, as well. So what is the definition of fraud? A perversion of the truth, color of law, to induce a person to part with something valuable, rights or property, etc., belonging to them using false or misleading representation. There's no statutes on fraud. Okay. So what is genocide? So genocide under 1091A, whoever, whether in time of peace or in war, in some circumstance describes in subsection D, the intent to destroy in whole, part, a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group, to kill members of the group, to cause serious bodily injury to that group, permanent impaired mental faculties through drugs, torture, or similar techniques, physical destruction of a group or in part, impose measures intended to prevent births within the group. These are all subject to $1 million fines, 20 years in prison, etc. All right? So, whoever in circumstance described in subsection D directly or publicly incites another to violate subsection A shall not be fined more than $500,000 or imprisoned more than 5 years. The offense is committed within the United States. Okay? An alleged offender is a national of the United States. Section 101, Immigration and Nationality Act, 8 U.S.C. 1101. Okay? Okay. These bankrupt corporations are for profit, and they are not paying taxes that they owe to the true American government, we the people. Concealment of securities. Okay? The offense is punishable by up to 7 years imprisonment to dishonestly conceal, destroy, or defacing any valuable securities, will, or any document issued from a court or government department for the purpose to gain, for one's gain, or to cause loss to another. So they don't want to let you know about the securities, huh? Okay. Breach of duty is a criminal offense. Interfering with trade or business. The tort of deliberately interfering with the trade or business of another person by unlawful means, thereby causing damage to the person. Liability in this tort is wider than tort of procuring breach of contract, since it is not necessary to show that the existing contract has been interfered with or broken. See Title 15, U.S. Code 1 and 2. Torture, okay? The prohibition on torture is covered under the Civil Rights Act. Mental, physical suffering, imprisonment, all these things. Now, what is a ward of the state? A child becomes a ward of the state when the birth certificate or any state child contract is issued and made, and the state's duty to the ward is to pay all of the bills, and it remains until he or she reaches the age of majority, or until the court orders that he should cease to be a ward and all entitlements restored to the ward. All I'm going to say is that replay that part again. If remember, you are considered incompetent because you haven't reached the age of majority, because you've never told them. So you are incompetent. But according to this, the minor account and all things associated mean you can be 80 years old. You're still considered to be in your minor account, your minor state of mind. They are supposed to pay all of your bills. Also, you can look up information on HJR 192 or Public Law 73-10. All courts are administering the Cestui Trust without your knowledge. That is going to be in the next video. So stay tuned, guys. Badwolf's over and out for now. We will catch you up with some more information. The next video should pop up. If it doesn't, YouTube search it, because it's about to get hot. Let's find out some more of that information.